Hi everyone, my name is Alex and welcome to my YouTube channel. If we've met before, then welcome back, and if we haven't met before, then welcome. I'm doing a quick short video today on how to work Xero. So it is an area in the practice we spend an awful lot of time on training people on how to work Xero, and it's obviously an area where people like to know and understand a bit more about. So I thought I would put together a short video on the key basics of how to work it so that you can get up and get going with using Xero in your business. We're just going to cover off on 4 key areas of Xero today. It is a very powerful piece of software. You can use it for so many things, but we're just going to be covering off on the dashboard, the business tab, the accounting tab, and the contacts tab. I will be doing a video a little later on payroll and how to run payroll, and you can also use it for projects if that is the industry or the space that you're in where you're using projects as well. You can also have apps that feed into it to bring in different information and data. So if you're in a business such as the cleaning industry, you might be using ServiceMate and things like that to be able to take payments and to record your travel and record the jobs and everything that you're doing. We're not covering any of that today, no integrations today whatsoever. I do have to apologize a little bit in advance as old age is creeping up on me and I am going blind. I need a pair of glasses to be able to see the computer screen. It does mean you might see a bit of a reflection and not be able to see my eyes, so I do apologize for that one, but let's crack on. Let's get into this now. So if we have a look at my computer screen, and I'm just turning in now. All right, so here we go. When you first go into Xero, this is what you are going to be able to see. It is your dashboard. Now, this is your personal space. This is completely customizable to what you want to be seeing, and it shows the key areas of your business that you should be keeping an eye on at any given point in time. So on this, we are using the demo company today. So on this particular company, they have their business bank account, which does look overdrawn at the moment, but we'll come to that in a minute. We have a business savings account that's looking quite healthy. We have total cash in and cash out, which just tracks as a little graphic, the total cash in and cash out of the business on a month by month basis. Then we have the account watch list. So this is where you can keep an eye on key accounts. You can add accounts to it. You can take accounts away. It's incredibly useful for monitoring the key areas of your business, especially as you're growing and changing and developing. Then we have a box on invoices that are owed to you. So that's money coming in, and invoices that you need to pay. And in this instance, we have expense claims on employees. Now, in this business, we don't actually have any employees. So I'm going to customize my dashboard to actually remove that. So if I click on Edit Dashboard, I can actually scroll down. You can see I can move all the boxes around. I can just untick this show box here, and that, if you see, if I go back to save changes, you will see that has removed it from my dashboard, so I can no longer see it on my dashboard. I can also move all the boxes around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to Edit Dashboard, and I actually want to see this cash in and cash out. That's actually a really useful graphic just at a very quick glance to see how my business is going, but it's really handy to have it next to your business bank account. So I'm just going to scroll up and I'm going to drag and drop it up here, and then I'm going to click on Save Changes, and you can see that it's now sitting next to my business bank account. So my business bank account is showing me everything I have done on a day-to-day basis, and then I've got my total cash in, cash out on a monthly basis sitting next to it. From here, we can actually go in and we can do your reconciliation, your bank reconciliation. Now, this is probably the biggest and most important area of any kind of business bookkeeping, is managing your business bank account. So the reconciliation tells the software what you have and have not purchased. Now, the key thing to mention here is that with cloud-based software nowadays is they actually use what's called open source banking. And open source banking allows banks and your software to talk directly to one another. And that just means that we can see everything and you can see everything in real time, in effect. You can see it far more quickly. It means you can do your reconciliations far more quickly. It means that you can spot problems far more quickly. It means you're on top of everything. Your accountant can jump on and have a look and see what's going on. Your bookkeeper can jump on and see what's going on in real time. It's really very fantastic way of doing things. So if I click on this reconcile item, you can see here that we've got 28 items that need to be reconciled in the bank account. it opens up this page here. Now this is your what's called the matching page of the bank feed, and it has two distinct areas of the screen. So you've got the left hand side of the screen, which are all these items here, and these are things that have been automatically pulled from your business bank account. So that's what's actually come out of the business bank account. Then on the right hand side, we've got all the areas where we have to match it to in Xero, and so that Xero understands what's been going on. Now, to be able to do your reconciliation, you really only need to answer three key questions: who, what, and why. Okay, so for example, let's just take this one here to the Smart Agency. Who is going to be who? So obviously it's Smart Agency, and you can see here they're an existing contact, so we just need to select that. It is for advertising, so I just want here to write advertising. Now this is where Xero becomes incredibly intuitive, and you can see I only need to type the first three letters and it will automatically show me the accounts that have those three letters for me to choose from. So it really makes this process very, very streamlined. So I can choose advertising. So that tells me the who and the what. Now you could stop here and just click on OK, but your accountant will not thank you for that in any way, shape or form. You need to answer the why question. Now in here, you need to be as detailed as humanly possible. There's not really a great character limit, so you can be thoroughly detailed. The more information you put in here, the less likely your accountant will have a query at the end of the year. So this is where we need to explain why we spent the money. So in this case, we've spent $4,500. So what we need to just say is what it was for. So it's for an advertising agency. So it was, let's say, for a marketing campaign. And let's just say the my keyboard is dying, campaign. So let's just say that the campaign ran from January 2023 to July 2023, okay? So being an Australian-based taxpayer, you will see that that's straddling the end of the financial year, and that will tell your accountant whether or not they need to be apportioning any of the expense or changing things around, or how they need to treat things. What's also handy here is just to say what it was for. Now we've said it was for a marketing campaign, but what were we actually doing in that campaign? It was for photographs, it was for videos and YouTube. Okay, so YouTube advice, and it is the first of two invoices, so we're just going to say invoice 1 of 2. Okay, and then we're just going to click on OK, and what that does is that actually reconciles that invoice for us, and so it's gone away and everything is happy days. So then we're going to have a look. You'll also see we've got these green items. Now these green items are where Xero is actually guessing or matching the transaction that's sitting in the bank account with what they've already got and what it can clearly identify in its software. So let's just take this top one for Ridgeway University, $6,187.50. It can see that we have an invoice that's raised in our system to Ridgeway University 4 days earlier for $6,187.50 with a reference number. So what Xero has actually done is it's taken the information provided on the bank feed, matched it to its invoice and said, this is what I believe that belongs to. Do you agree? And that is why it is in green. All we need to do here is click on the OK button and it will automatically reconcile that transaction for us. That's where it gets a little bit fun in Xero, is you can actually see how quickly you can process your bank reconciliation by how quickly you can process off all your green ones, and see how many you can do in, say, a minute or two. If we go further down, you can actually see where we've got something that's been matched, but it's not highlighted in green. So this is where AI is being used by Xero to actually guess a transaction and how to treat a transaction that we make regularly. So for example, on the 6th of November 2023, we spent $15 with the National Australia Bank for bank fees. Here we are on the 7th of November 2023, and we have spent $15 on bank fees with National Australia Bank. So what Xero is saying is it's saying it's who, it's saying it's the bank, it's saying what's it for, it's for bank fees, and it's saying why is it the bank fees, do we agree? And that is why it is matched up. It says okay, but it is not in green. So all we need to do do again is click OK. And you can add this into your green how many in a minute can you actually match, because it will make it all the more fun and see how quickly you can get through your bank reconciliations. Okay. Then we have items, what you can do, especially you can use this function, especially if you're using a bookkeeper. So this might be where a bookkeeper is coming through and doing your bookkeeping for you. So they're doing this reconciliation on your behalf, and they might have a question. So for example, we have received $100 from City Limousines, okay? You can see here that we've just made a note. This is an old invoice. We didn't know how to code it. We're not really sure what to do with it. So they've just left it there and not dealt with it. Now, this can go back as a query to the client, and the client can come back and say, oh, this was an invoice. It was a reimbursement cost. This is what we need to do with it. This is what it was for. And then the bookkeeper will know how to do it. Equally, the other way, if you are doing your own bookkeeping for your business and you get to a point there are transactions where you don't know how to deal with them, or you don't know what to do with them, you want the accountant to deal with it, you can use the discuss toggle just here to leave a comment for them, and then just click on save. Please fix for me. And then you can just click on save, and it will automatically save it there. So the next person logging in will be able to see that comment there and be able to code it and deal with it for you. Then the last piece of information that you need to be able to do are these items here. So this is everything else that's sitting in Xero that you need to have a look at to be able to reconcile. So you can see it's not matched. It doesn't have the who, the what, or the why. So for the example, this is from Jacaranda Maple Systems, and you can see it's absolutely blank on the other side. Now, the more information we enter into here, the easier it is for Xero to guess and predict what it will be like in the future. It is constantly learning every time we tell it to do something. So for here, it is money that we have received. So we say, who is it from? Jacaranda Maple Systems. And you can see it's looking for a new contact. It's not in there, so it's a new contact. And then we say, what was it for? Well, it's a sale, so it's income. So we're just going to select sales. And then here we can say what it was for, what we did for it. And we can basically say it was the sale of goods and services, or you can be more specific. You can say the sale of 15 jumpers, or you can say it was for the installation of a TV system, or you can say it was for the provision of legal advice to do with contracts for purchase of equipment. You can say whatever you like in here, but you need to be as detailed as possible. It does prevent questions later on down the track. So there we go. That's the basics of your reconciliation, okay? If you want to go back to the dashboard, we go back to the dashboard here, and you can see now that we have only got, when it loads, we've only got 24 items left to reconcile on the business bank account. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to have a look at is the business tab, and this is really where for your business it's the key area of Xero that you go to be able to run your business. It handles all your invoices and all your sales process, and it handles all your purchasing process as well. So let's start by having a look at your sales invoices, and we want to raise an invoice. So we're just going to click on invoicing, and you can see here that we've got a list of all the different invoices that have been raised by the business, and you can see if you can click on draft, awaiting approval, awaiting payment paid, repeating to sort them if you're looking for a specific invoice. So if I click on awaiting payment, I can quickly and clearly see all the invoices that have been issued that we're waiting for them to pay. What I want to do right now though is I actually want to raise a new invoice. Okay, so this is really very straightforward. For now, I am going to assume that this business is not registered for GST, just to keep it nice and simple. You can set up templates for your invoices in Xero. So if you're a consultant, for example, and you're consulting on the similar sort of thing all the time, and you're raising the same invoice over and over again, you can actually set up a templated invoice to cut down on the amount of time that it takes for you to do your invoicing. But in here, this is just going to say, we're going to say who we're going to do it to. So let's do it to, we'll do it to Jacaranda again, Maple Systems, systems, and you can see that it's going to come up because we have already had something in them. We've got today's date. When is the invoice going to be due? Now you can choose here a date that you can do it on. You can do it on today's date. It depends on your terms. So today's date, you can do it plus 30. Now you can write the date in here. You can click on the drop down box and click on a date in there, or you can just type +7 and it will automatically come up with 7 days from today. I absolutely love that little feature, it's brilliant. You've got your invoice number in here. So this is where you can be, especially when you're raising your first invoice for your business, it can be super exciting because you're raising your first invoice. But as with anything, you don't necessarily want your clients to know it's your first invoice. So you always start at say 100. I'm just going to leave this as 1,043 for now. Except that I have hit the wrong button. Okay, then in your reference tab, what you're actually going to do is you're going to put in here a reference. Now, if you are working on a particular project, you might have a project code that you're putting in here. You might have a client reference if you've got clients that you're running through, or you might actually have an address of some work or something that you're doing. I'm just going to put in here a reference code so that they can see what it's for, and then we just have our standard branding. Okay, so then here is a quick description on what it is that we have done for them. So in this case, we have provided some legal advice for the purchase of a new piece of equipment. You can be as detailed in here as you like. It depends a little bit on your clients. We often say in the accounting industry that the invoices are like a piece of art, and we have to put as much work into them as we put into the actual doing of the work. You often find, especially in the service-based industries, the more detailed you are in here, the easier it is to get your invoice across the line. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at that. We just had one at a unit price of $2,000, no discount, and you can see here that it's just popping out with $2,200 for the business. That's because it's assuming a GST rate of 10%. Now, again, there you've got several options here for what to do next in terms of approving the invoice. Just before I do that though, just quickly, you can attach anything you like to an invoice. So you might have, if you're in a building industry or a cleaning industry or something along those lines, you might have some photos that you want to attach of the work that you've done. You might have some documentation that you want to attach to show the work that's being done. So you can add all of that into your invoice. You can also preview it. So if you click on the preview button, it will show you a preview of what your invoice is going to look like when you send it out to your client. Now, this is all completely customizable. So you can change all the wording down here should you want to. So for example, we would have things in here like we do not accept checks. We would like payment on immediate delivery. We also do a referral program in here. So we would have wording in there around our referral program. You can include your bank account details, all sorts of things in there. This is the desktop preview of your invoice, so you can actually switch to having a look at what it looks like on somebody's mobile device, so you can just make sure that it's looking okay when you do that as well, because at the end of the day, we want our invoices to look professional. Professional invoices are more likely to be paid. Once you've done all of that and you're completely happy with your invoice, it's time to approve it. So you can see here that we have a choice of things that we can do here. If you're, say, a consultant and you work 4 days of the week and then you do your admin on the 5th day, you might find you're doing lots of invoicing all at the same time. So you might want to approve and add another one. You might want to approve and view the next one should you choose to do that, or you might want to approve and print it if you have a very old school client that you are going to print it out for. But in this case, I'm just going to go and select approve, and we're just going to approve the invoice straight off the bat. Okay, so there's your invoicing. The next thing that we're going to have a quick look at is raising a quote. So there we've got our quoting. If I just click on new quote, okay, we can have in here everything that we need to do. So let's just say we have had a new client come in. Let's just say it's an accounting client. We've had a new client come in and they want us to quote on the work they've got to do. They've got a number of years outstanding and there are a number of issues going on in there. So we might just put in here test company, and then we're going to put today's date. Now this is where we're going to put how long it's going to be until the quote expires. So we might say that we just want the quote to last for 14 days. So again, I can just type plus 14 and it will automatically come up with the date for when the quote expires. And then we can put our quote number in here. Same rules apply as with everything else. You don't necessarily want to start off with quote number 1. You want to start off with quote 100. That can all be changed in settings to make sure it's correct. And in here, you can just add a reference. So we're just going to put test 0001 in here again. Very exciting, I know. Down here, this is where we become a little bit more detailed. So we're just saying what this is for. So we say multiple year tax return and financial year preparation. They want us to do the bookkeeping, and they want us to do end of year tax planning as well. Now again, you can be as detailed as you like in this. Okay, we just got the one, and we're just going to quote again another $2,000. Please do not take this as being a quote that we would give you, because $2,000 for that amount of work is a little on the light side. So there we go, we've got that. And then the account that we would want to put this to. Now just a word here, because it's something I didn't mention when I was doing the invoice, when I raised the invoice, is the account that you put here is exactly the same as the what that you answer when you're doing your bank reconciliation. So if you're raising a lot of invoices where you're raising the same type of invoice over and over again, you might find that you actually know the account number off by heart. But if you don't, or you're not sure, or it's something left of field, you can actually start typing and it will actually pull up a list of accounts for you that you can search and you can do. Now, because I've typed in ADV here, it's actually just bringing up the two accounts that I can do. So I'm going to do accounting is what I actually want to do. And here's consulting and accounting, and we'll leave it at that. And you can see here that it's pulled through the $2,000. Now in here in the terms box, this is where you can put any terms that relate to this invoice, so, or this quote. So this might be that this is for one individual, and if she rings up and says my husband's in the same situation as well, then we would know that we would have to actually do a separate quote for them, and the client also knows that this quote would not include it for the husband as well. We can attach any files that we like, and we can go from there, and then that's done, and then we can just click on send. Okay, and then we just click on send. So here we can just enter in our contact's email address. If we say test@test.com.au, and then we can just say, we can have this message here is automated. We can change this however we like, and we can click on send copy, send me a copy, so that I'm included on it as well. Now, one of the things that I would say just here is that anything you are doing for the first time is always worth setting yourself up as a testing point to send it to yourself first, because then you'll actually be able to see how it looks from the client's perspective, and you can actually say that you've walked through the process from their side, so you know exactly how your system and your process is running. So then we just click on send, and off it goes, just like magic. Okay. While we wait for that, the next thing that we are going to be looking at, if we go to the business tab, and is we're actually going to look at items that we are buying. So there's the quote there sitting there ready to go. So we're going to go and have a look at payments that we need to pay. So this is where we've bought something. So this is to do with our suppliers. So you can see sitting in here, this is an overview of everything sitting in our bills to pay. And again, much like with the invoices, is we can actually filter it to see how we are doing. So we can look at our awaiting to payments, and we can see that we've got all these different payments sitting down here that we need to be making in the not too distant future. And where the due date is highlighted in yellow, it's just showing that it's overdue for payment, and so you really need to tackle it ASAP and sort out what's going on. But for now, I want to bring in a new bill. So this is where I have bought something from a supplier, so I am just going to use who we use for our stationery, so that is COS, and we're going to add them as a new contact. We're doing it today. Now they have a 30-day payment term. Actually, it's not that it's changed recently, it's a 14-day payment term. And then I'm just going to use a reference code of test, because that's just, they have, you know, what suppliers like, they generally speaking give you a client code when you have them, and they have on their invoices what it is that you want to put in as the reference. Here you can actually save a copy of the invoice. Now, something just to say here is you don't have to save a copy of every single invoice when you raise a bill like this, but it is good practice to do that. It will save a whole heap of time when your accountant is doing work for you, and it will also mean that if the ATO ever comes back and reviews your files, then you've got all the supporting information there as you need it really super quickly. It is something that the ATO have very, well, historically they've been doing it anyway, but they've recently actually felt the need to come out and say it. It's that if they issue a letter to review something in your accounts, if you are able to turn around and provide the information really quickly and really concisely, they know that you're on top of everything, and they will be very unlikely to pursue the course of, or the path that they have chosen to go down. However, if you could take a long time, you're having to sort through files, you can't find anything, then they will tend to think that you don't have your business affairs in order, and they know that they've got scope there for actually digging further to find out what's going on. So there we go. Now in here, you're just going to put the total of the invoice. So in this sense, I'm buying some paper and I need to get some staples. So we're just going to say $100 is the total amount of the invoice. And down here, we're going to say description for what it is for, and it is just for stationery. Now here you can actually do one of two things. It depends a little bit on what it is that you are buying. Because we're buying multiple things but from one supplier, I'm going to say 1 unit price for my staples of say $5, and it's going to go to printing and stationery. So you can see here I have just typed in print, but I could have dropped that drop down box there, and that will give me a full list of everything that I have to choose from the accounts. And then I click on printing and stationery, and then in here I'm going to do the same thing again, and I bought 2 reams of paper for very expensive paper at $95, and again I'm going to put it to printing and stationery. And you can see down here that it's actually brought in the total amount of $214.50, and so that means that I've actually done something wrong, and I can tell you exactly what it is I've done wrong, and it's because I'm not looking at the invoice and my unit price is wrong. So my unit price of $95 is the total for 2 boxes, not the total for each. So what I actually need to do is just change that to 1, and it will make it $95, and then it will bring it in. Now, because we have assumed that this is a GST exclusive business, I'm just going to change that to no tax. That means that my total here is the same as my total up there. It will not allow you to approve unless your total here is the same as the total there. Okay, so again, if I'm doing lots of invoices at the same time, I can choose approve and add another, or approve and next, but I'm just going to click on approve, and that will raise this as an invoice in our system and a bill to be paid. Okay, so there we have it. Next, we're going to look at the accounting box, and here in the accounting box, you can see that we've got various different things, but we're really only interested in looking at 2 items in here. So we're going to start with the profit and loss statement. Now, the profit and loss statement is a snapshot in time of a particular time for the business, and it just tracks your incoming monies and your outgoing expenses. You can see here that this is defaulted to just the month of November. I often like to look at it as the financial year to date, so I'm just going to change it. I also like to compare it with the prior year, because then I can see how I'm tracking on a year-on-year basis. So just click on update. And you can see here that we have got our trading income, so that's total sales, with our purchases. So our cost of sales are our things that directly relate to our trading income. So that might be things like labor, materials, anything sort of like that. Then we've got other income, so that's interest income, so that's any other income that's outside of our sales. And then we have operating expenses. And this is basically everything else that you have in the business that goes into running the business but is not directly attributable to the sales on a sale by sale basis. So that is things like advertising, bank fees, entertainment, legal expenses, office expenses, printing and stationery, all of that kind of thing. Now, it's important to say here that if you're using this report to do your tax planning, which you by far and away should be, then you will be needing to look at your net profit figures. So tax is always calculated based on your net profit. And as you can see here, your net profit is actually a loss. And so tax isn't necessarily an issue in this instance. The reason it's sitting at a loss, and if I just go back to the dashboard, I'll show you why. But the reason this is sitting as a loss is that we still have unreconciled items sitting in the bank account. So the reports in Xero can only report on items that have been reconciled because they're the only ones that it knows about. If it doesn't have those items reconciled in there, it will not be included in the report. So you always need to do your bank reconciliation first and get that completed to be able to run an accurate report. So we'll just go back to our profit and loss very quickly, and then I will change it to year to date with 1 year comparison and click on update. And you can see here we've got everything in here with our net loss position. If this were in a profit position, then we would be able to use it to actually work out or estimate how much our tax is going to be for the year. Okay, so the next report that we want to be having a look at is the balance sheet. So where the profit and loss is a snapshot in time, the balance sheet is a view of a period of time. So it's over a period of time rather than at a finite particular point in time. And it looks at things like our assets, our liabilities, and our equity. Now you can see on here, it's not actually showing a huge amount, and that will be because we haven't got much going on in this company at all. But if I show on here, and I'm just trying to see if I can make it have a few more items on there, but it's not going to, but this will have things like your business bank account, your plant and equipment, so that's computers, laptops, cars, any other tools, equipment that you use running in the business, any investments that you might have. So you might have some shareholdings, some capital going on there. It also tells you what liabilities you have, so any GST owing, any bills you've got paying, and what money there is available in the business for you to be able to draw as a dividend or as a cash withdrawal at some point in the future. It is also a very, very important document for you to be able to use. When should you be looking at your P&L and balance sheet? Well, I would say at a bare minimum, you need to be looking at them every month, and that will just give you a really good feel for how your business is running. So the other two reports I just want to have a look at here are your aged payables and your aged receivables. So I'll look at your aged receivables and I'll leave you to look at aged payables on your own because I really am conscious of time and the length of this video today. So your aged receivables is a list of all the monies outstanding to you as a business at today or at a point in time of your choosing. So if you look here, you can see that the total amount outstanding at the moment is $21,069.05. So you can see in here, we've got the Jacaranda Maple Systems one, which is the one that we have just raised recently that's showing as invoices due this month. And we can sit here and we can actually filter it, we can change it based on due date, all sorts of different things sitting on here. And that will give us a really good feel for who owes us money. So lastly, let's have a look at our contacts, and you can look here, you can look at just your customers, just your suppliers, or you can look at all contacts. So we are going to look at all contacts for now. And we can see very quickly who all of our contacts are. Now, one of the things I love about the all contacts page is you can see how much money you owe them and how much money they owe you. Okay, so you can see here that Basket Case owes us $914.55 and Bayside Wholesale is owed $840. If we carry on down here, we can look here, Central Copiers with $163.56. If you see this little red icon sitting next to it, it means that the amount is overdue and it really needs to be actioned as soon as possible. So let's just have a look at that and just see what's going on, because you'd want to know fairly quickly how that's tracking and whether or not the bill is actually overdue to them. And you can see here, if I click on it, that it's for the photocopier repair and drum replacement. So yes, it's definitely owed. It was due on the 10th of November, so we are overdue, but only just overdue. So if we paid it straight away, then they would not look too unfavorably upon us. You can just click on back, or you can click on, if you click on back to go back to the screen we were on before, and then click back again, we will go back to our contacts and we will be able to see what's going on here, and then we can see the money that they owe to us. So you can see here City Limousines owes us $849.50, and again it is overdue. So let's have a look and see why, and we can see here there are a number of invoices going on here that are awaiting payment. We can actually send a statement to the client based on this information just to jig them along a little bit and say, come on, pay your invoices. So we'll just click on statements. We can change the dates here a little bit. So this statement has automatically populated for the month of October, but what I really want to do is show the outstanding balance. So I'm going to change it to today's date, which is the 15th of November, and I'm going to click on update. And you can see here the balance due is $849.50. From here, I can either print a PDF and then send it out, or I can email it immediately out to the client, as we do here, and I can just click on send, and that's gone, and he will be able to see the invoice, and hopefully that will trigger him to make payment. So we have talked through what the dashboard is, we have talked through bank reconciliations and how to reconcile it, we've talked about what bank feeds are, how Xero does automatic matching and how you can teach it how to recognize transactions going forwards. We've also talked about how you can raise an invoice, how you can raise a quote, how you can raise a purchasing invoice, how you can track the key reports in your business, how you can do your credit control, how you can look at all your contacts. So from here, you can actually run your business and get the basics of Xero down pat fairly pretty easily. If you would like to talk a little bit more about it, or you have a few questions around how to do your Xero bookkeeping, or you would like to become a client, have a look at the information in the description below. I will add everything in there. If you've got a question or a comment, or you want to see more videos like this, then please do add a comment in the comments box. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.